Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amanda Muller. I'm the Apprenticeship Navigator for Bureau of Rehab Services, and you're here to listen to Kelly Flagg speak about the Associated General Contractors Apprenticeship and Pre-Apprenticeship Program. She's the Executive Director. And without further ado, I will go ahead and let her begin her presentation.
Excellent. Thanks so much for asking me to share this information, Amanda. I'm really excited to share this with all of you. So I want to just share a little bit about a program that we launched in 2023 and that we're looking to expand as we move into 2024.
Hey, Kelly, did you select to include the sound when you shared?
I did. Is it not working? Are you not hearing the sound with that, Amanda?
Not really hearing the sound. I don't know if your volume.
All right, let's see if we can do that differently. Nope, I had it on and it was pretty optimized for video clip. Let's try this again. Well, if this is our only technical difficulty, I think we are doing okay. Now my computer. Let's try again.
Perfect.
So our program through the Associated General Contractors of Maine is intended to expose the participants to different opportunities within construction. And that often spans a number of different job opportunities for different skill levels, different abilities, different interests. And so we're really focused in this particular program and what we're going to talk about today with individuals between the ages of 16 and 20, so in school and out of school youth. And the purpose of the program is really to build relationships between the individuals and the construction industry, so our industry partners. AGC Maine is a member-based organization, and so our job is to support the growth of the construction industry and the growth of the construction industry workforce. So we're really looking to build those relationships and spark interest and expose students and participants to something that maybe they never thought about before, and let them know what those opportunities look like and what those training pathways look like. So some specifics about the program itself. And when I say the program, I'm specifically referring to what we refer to as the Construction Immersion Program. That is one part of the Maine Construction Academy. So the Construction Immersion Program, like I said, for students age 16 to 20, we do ask that they have a recommendation from somewhere. This says teacher recommendation if they're part of a voc rehab program or they're referred through adult ed. There's all kinds of different ways that they can get that recommendation, and they need to be in good standing in whatever programs that they're participating in. What they're getting if they're part of the program is a number of things. They're going to get some training that's work-ready training that prepares them for being on a construction job site and being safe in that environment. And then they're going to get experience. So they're going to get to try some different things, to see some different things. And we have support built into the program. So the certifications that they get, I think this is really exciting. It includes an OSHA 10 certification, so they fully have an understanding of what job site safety looks like in construction. They also receive a first aid and CPR for construction badge, and that kind of shares with them, the importance of being safe on a job site, and then how to respond if something does in fact happen. And then we provide them with an NCCER core badge. And to the rest of the world, I understand that probably doesn't mean a whole lot, but it basically, NCCER is an industry recognized certification that provides them with basic hand tools, power tools, construction math, some basic print reading, and really a good base knowledge for whatever direction or interest they should choose. Then the second half of the program, and this is the part that I really love, I think it's kind of the secret sauce, if you will, is where they get to learn about a minimum of 10 to 12 different career pathways and have some sort of meaningful work experience. And when I say meaningful work experience, it's a day that they're exposed to each of these crafts. And so what that means is a contractor, each day the presentation is done by a contractor within our community who is an active employer looking for apprentices. And that individual company will present about their company, the benefits to working with their company, what the different crafts are and different career opportunities look like. And then they'll provide that hands-on experience. And that could be any number of things, which I'm going to share a few of throughout the rest of the slideshow. But they'll be exposed to opportunities such as electrical work, HVAC, welding. They might get to see bridge construction, renewable energy construction. We'll look at building construction and carpentry. And so all of the different opportunities that might exist within the commercial construction industry. The last piece here is that we've built in some financial support. We recognize that taking 4 weeks for an experiential learning opportunity might be hard for some youth. Typically in the summertime, youth are looking for a summer job. They're looking to make a little bit of money while they're off from school. And so we have built in an $800 stipend that is paid at the completion of the program. So the program is actually, it's 4 weeks of experience, and then there's 1 day of a graduation and graduation ceremony, and then interviewing with the member companies. So 21 days, they do get that $800 stipend paid at the end. So there's some financial support there. And then also opportunities to learn about banking and money management and resume preparation. So I just love this quote. If somebody is looking to be recognized and grow and change, but has not found a place in that sort of traditional college-bound pathway, one of our program partners said that they had seen more growth in the young people in their program in the 6 weeks that they were there. And they said 6 weeks because last year we ran a slightly longer program. We've modified it this year to 4 weeks. But that they had seen more growth in these students than in the entire program. We also have one of our students indicate that they had seen more things that they never thought they would want to do. They learned about welding, they learned about building bridges, and realized that that was something that they might want to do when they didn't even know that those career opportunities and pathways existed. I am going to pause just for a second and acknowledge that there is a Q&A option here. So if anyone has questions, we don't need to hold those for the end of the presentation. So feel free to use the Q&A box and pop any questions that you have right in there while we're going. And I've got that open on my side so I can see if you have questions, we'll be able to answer that. So in order for this program to work, there's lots of exciting career pathways and partners involved. And that is where I think, again, when I say the secret sauce or the magic of the program, these are all logos that you all see every day as you drive up and down the highway, as you look at the buildings being built in your communities, as you look at the projects that are happening around you. These are our project partners. That right now we have 17 companies that have registered apprenticeship pathways through AGC Maine, and we're supporting, I think, 11 different crafts right now. So again, all different types of work, all different types of companies, and all across the state of Maine as well. So we'll talk about geography in a little bit, but these companies range all the way from Fort Kent and Madawaska in the north down to companies that are in Sanford and Wells in the south. So everywhere, top to bottom, east to west, we do have opportunities available for people. Student experiences. I have so many great photos. I probably could spend an hour showing you all a slideshow, but I won't do that today. I do want to talk a little bit about what some of the student experiences are. We did take time this past year to see highway construction with Sargent Corporation. We actually looked at several different projects, but in this image, you see students learning how to shoot grade and learning how to survey the existing conditions of a site before they start to do excavation. Then RJ Grandin brought their mobile welding truck over to the program locations, and students got the opportunity to try welding. This was really, really fun to see people do. And a lot of students didn't even know that that was something that they would like, but they really enjoyed it. And then the third image, we got the opportunity to work with Knowles Industrial, and they do concrete work and masonry work. And in this particular project, the students are repointing bricks on on some steps that are in their community. And so, one of the great pieces of feedback we got here was, I got to work on those steps that I walk up and down, on a regular basis with my family. And so that's where the love of construction can really be born, when somebody can take a little bit of pride and share with their family, look, I built that, or I helped build that, or I did that. And so I thought that was a really great experience for those students. We also allow them to operate equipment. And I will point out right now, I'm going to play a very short clip of video. These two students are learning to operate equipment by playing tic-tac-toe. You'll see they're under very close supervision of an equipment operator. And they got the chance to start to practice what it's like to utilize the controls and move things around and use the actual bucket of this piece of equipment. And so this is one of the students' favorite days, is the equipment operation opportunity. And I won't make you watch the whole video because it takes a really, really long time to play a game of tic-tac-toe when you're brand new in an excavator. But, I think it's not every day that you get to do that in the regular world. We also have some exciting news. This estimated in March of 2024. I just got news that will actually be in February. AGC Maine has purchased a couple of crane simulators, which means that students will have the opportunity to operate a crane in a safe environment. So these simulators are modeled after real cranes that are used in construction. And we have the ability to change the wind and change the weather and change the environment that they're working in, and give the students the opportunity to see what that's like without them having to be necessarily on a job site to try it. So it's a safe environment for them to try something and see if that piques their interest for the future. I also think for students who enjoy video games, or students who enjoy that sort of more meticulous motor skills in a confined environment, that this is a great opportunity for them to see if that career is something that they would be interested in. So we have fully simulated crane opportunities, and the simulators allow us to steadily increase the difficulty of what the students are doing. And so we're going to actually be using this as part of our crane operator apprenticeship program in between classroom and real life outside training. Really interesting. We thought it was important that if we were going to provide students with financial support, that we also provided them with a little bit of additional financial literacy. And so we found, a lot of our students didn't know what to do with that first check that they received. And so we provide a 2-hour financial literacy class as part of the program. Talks a little bit about just basic money management and basics of managing credit. Because those are things that as we prepare for the workforce and we think about what it will look like to have a job and have a career and have an increase in employment, we want to really provide those students with the best possible outcomes for themselves and their futures. And then we also spend a bunch of time talking about work preparation, real life work preparation skills. We talk about resume building, we talk about interviewing. We do provide guaranteed interviews. So the students that are accepted into the program are guaranteed a minimum of 3 interviews. All of the participating contractors are required to participate in that interview process. So if a student identifies an organization as one of their top 3, we set that up for them in the final couple of days of the program. And it's been very, very successful in making really great long-term connections. We also are working with the programs, the schools specifically, to assist them with providing ELO and credit for work hours. So if a student is still in school youth versus out of school youth, but they were to move into an apprenticeship opportunity, there is the possibility for them to receive ELO credit for that program. And the whole goal of everything we've talked about here is that it leads to apprenticeship. And the beauty of apprenticeship is that it combines work time with associated instruction. So there's school and work happening simultaneously. And, as we start to think about moving into the workforce and the opportunity for continued learning after high school, this really provides 2 things. It provides the ability to start to support themselves by making an income while also learning at the same time. And so every single one of our contractor companies that participates in this program has at least one apprenticeship pathway available. And so that was a really important piece of this program for both the contractors and for the students. So, if you're a student and you're thinking, oh, I really want to become an electrician, then there will be opportunities to apply for an electrical apprenticeship at the completion of the program and receive credit for the hours, the classroom hours, and on the job hours that you've done as part of this program. So all this as a registered pre-apprenticeship, all of the time spent in this program translates into advanced placement in an apprenticeship at the end. So that's one of my favorite things. And the last thing, now that we've got the sound working here, I'm going to let our program participants and partners speak for themselves. Oh, end of the slideshow. Wrong button. Hold on.
Took a trip over to Brewer High School, where the Associated General Contractors of Maine held a graduation ceremony for their summer program.
Well, we're here at Brewer High School, and today is the graduation for our Association of General Contractors Construction Academy. We've spent the last 6 weeks here in the building, through the summer, through the heat.
So we've been exposed to welding, carpentry, electrical, plumbing. Like, I saw some things that I didn't think that I would want to do, and I was like, oh wait, this is something I could see myself doing.
The trades are a really, really good way to make money if you like working outside, like working with your hands.
Events like this help the construction industry grow and expose the students to other trades. We can be a stepping stone in their career path of becoming an electrician, plumber, getting into the HVAC industry, or even staying with us in our self-perform teams of building foundations, masonry, fire stopping, things of that nature.
I have gotten all my certifications. I have learned how they make bridges like at NS Giles, and now I'm more interested in wanting to go into working on bridges hands-on as a crane operator.
This is opportunity of a lifetime. Like, being a woman and being the only one out of all boys, it's like, oh my God, like, now I can start my future. I can travel and start a family and, maybe one day buy a house, and it's exciting.
The growth I've seen in the last 6 weeks from these young people is tremendous compared to the lack of growth that I've saw over 4 years.
So with that, I think I'll stop the screen share and open the floor to questions. Any questions about the program, about the application process? I will pause to say that in 2023, we operated the program with 4 partners across the state. In 2024, we're actually scheduled to be in 13 locations. So there's likely something relatively close to each community. And I know Amanda does have the link, the application link with all of those locations.
And I will share that in the chat, and I can also email it to all the attendees. If you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat or the Q&A. And I've got a couple.
So it looks like right now, Kim had a question about the simulator program. So Kim, the simulator is going to be part of a crane operator apprenticeship. So it is not just a simulator program. That crane operator apprenticeship will start with classroom training. They move into simulated instruction, and then they would move into operating an actual piece of equipment. I recommend for students, again, in that sort of 16 to 20 age range, that they start with the construction immersion program and get exposed to all of the other opportunities before they move directly into that. And then I see Ian asked, do we cover paving and the building of roads? We sure do. We do a lot of that type of work as an association. We've got lots of members who are working in the earthwork and paving world. And so they absolutely will get the opportunity to, in most cases, depending on geography, if there is an active road construction project going on, they will get the opportunity to be on that project and sort of see what that looks like. I think it's important in construction, not just to see the work and or practice the work in a confined environment, but also to see what a job site looks like and feels like. So for many students, that transition, even if they're part of a technical program already, the transition from classroom to job site is often a little bit of a rough transition. And so one of the things that this program really does is it breaks down that barrier. And so by the time they're done, what you see is students' confidence level changes, their confidence in the way they carry themselves, and their comfort level being in a job site environment is significantly different than a student that has not had these experiences.
And it may have been covered, but I don't recall seeing it. Now the eligibility is for youth between 16 and 20, and they can be in school or out of school. Is that correct?
That is correct. So 16 to 20 is the accurate age range. We are actually looking at, I'm not ready to share for sure that this is happening, but we're working on also some programs open to an older adult population. But right now, the youth programs are specifically for ages 16 to 20. We're not mixing adult and youth, but 16 to 20, and they do not have to apply to a program that is where they attend school. So if you're an in-school youth and there is a program in a place where you're able to get there, in a neighboring community, you are eligible to apply for that program. So we are working in partnership with a school, but it is not a school-sponsored program. So your typical school district delineations do not exist when we're talking about this particular program.
And individuals who are interested, and they're out of school, does it matter if they have their high school diploma or they do not have their high school diploma?
That's a great question. So we are looking for students who have either if they're out of school youth that have completed their diploma and or are in the process of working on HiSET. So if they're in an adult ed program, as long as they are in the process of working through that, they are eligible for this pre-apprenticeship program. We actually, the young woman that you heard speak in the final video, I love her story so much because she actually came back to the program. She had quit high school. She had left high school at the end of her senior year. She was 1 math credit short, and her program did actually, her school gave her that final math credit for her participation in our program. So she graduated from our program, but they also provided her with her high school diploma at the graduation ceremony. And so, you know, I think that to me is a huge success for the student and for the school as well. So, you know, I think each situation is a little bit different, and we do take the time to evaluate the full student profile.
That's awesome. Ian asked about travel. If someone does get a job in construction, is there a lot of travel involved?
Sometimes. And I say sometimes because I think that's Ian, it's a really, really great question. And when we are looking at matching individuals within the program with a company that will be their long-term future, potentially their long-term future, we're having those conversations. And we're asking participants about what is important to them. And, you know, travel is one of those things that is a reality in some construction companies, but not in all. And so if we know that there's a participant that doesn't want to travel, we'll make sure that we are talking to them about interviewing with organizations that are typically home at night. And so it really does depend on the specific company that you choose to work with and the type of work that they do.
Thank you. I do have another question. Can you talk a little bit about, earlier you said that the individual who's in school needs to be in good standing with their school. So when you say good standing, I am assuming you mean they should be passing,
Yes.
and what else? Maybe their attendance should be?
Yeah. So yeah, I gave real loose criteria, but in the application, there are a couple of questions that we ask. One of them that we actually removed the attendance requirement last year. When we set forward with this, what that really meant was we were looking at, are they passing all of their classes? We were actually looking for students with a 90% attendance rate, but turns out since COVID, that's really hard for people. And so you know, we took that requirement out of the application process. But, you know, at the end of the day, for me, what I'm looking for is a student who's going to be engaged with the program. We're making an investment in the student by providing one of the things I didn't talk about here. I don't know how I missed that. I might have skipped a slide, but we're providing every single student with all of the necessary personal protective gear to be on a construction site, including safety toe shoes, which can be pretty expensive. And we're also providing all of the students a toolkit, which you saw in that final video upon graduation. So the investment per student is pretty significant, and we want to make sure the students we select are going to be committed back to the program. And so attendance is important. You know, grades are important, but I also recognize that sometimes grades are not directly related to a student's ability to succeed. They just may not prefer to be in a classroom. And so again, we're really looking at the full profile of the student, and we put a lot of stock into the recommendation that is provided along with that application. And the students, the application includes a quick synopsis from the student of why they want to participate. And sometimes we see students who self-identify that they don't feel successful necessarily in the classroom, but they want to be more active and hands-on, and, you know, that they're committed to showing up. So.
And I definitely agree with you. I see a lot of instances where we have students who don't typically do super well in class academically, but they excel in work and more hands-on, more practical skills.
And I will say, we've really built this program around that student profile. So there are some classroom components you have to complete, but most of them are hands-on or interactive. And we've built a lot of space in for people moving around and being physical versus just sitting in class. So Ian asked about weather or seasonality playing a role in what kind of construction. That is absolutely a reality. I will say, in recent years, most construction organizations have been busy year round. But what type of construction someone chooses can definitely affect whether they're working full-time or whether they're working seasonally. What's interesting about construction is that most construction jobs, you can earn a full-time living wage in a shorter season. And so that's also, sort of part of the conversation that we're having with students is, do you want to work year round, or do you want to work for 8 months and then, do something else in the winter? We know we can't pave in the winter. That's one of the things that we know you can't do, but we can excavate, we can do building construction, we can do electrical work. So there's a lot of opportunities that are actually still year round in our commercial construction world.
Great question, Ian. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of transition to work supports? Obviously,
Yeah.
The process of applying or searching for jobs, interviewing, what does that look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so we actually, each program has 3 partners as part of the program. So there's AGC, which brings the curriculum and all of the contractors to the table, and we organize and manage the entire system. There's the location host. So that's typically a CTE program, a high school, a community college, et cetera. And then the third partner is the WIOA service provider in that local area. And so every single student is enrolled as they are eligible in WIOA support services at the beginning of the program. So that's actually where the student stipend comes from, but it also provides them that additional career transition support through the program and into the workforce. So they'll have that career advisor and connection with a WIOA service provider. So, in the southern part of the state through Workforce Solutions, in the northern part of the state through EMDC. And then they also will have a connection with AGC Maine. So Thomas Sutherland is our workforce and apprenticeship coordinator, and he actually also continues to follow up with these students. So for instance, we had a couple of students from our Brewer program that took on work experience as part of their senior year. They've been working. They actually just transitioned from finishing their first big project, and they're moving to a new job site. And he checks in with them just about monthly to see how it's going, checks in with their employer to see how it's going. And they're doing fantastic. They love the work. They're excited to be there. Ian asked about whether those particular students, when they had their first rain day, were so excited. They actually called Thomas, tell him about how they worked in the rain and how it's very fun to see this all work and to see a student have a good experience that is creating a future for them.
I just want to add to, some people may not know what WIOA is.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Did you want to take that one, or you want me to?
No, go ahead.
So WIOA stands for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And so it's a set of laws and that has provided funding for different programs for people to access employment, education, and training, and supports to get into these programs so that people can get better jobs, better skilled, more pay. Did I say that right?
You did. You said it great. And so I look at them as the people that are there to support all of the transitional things that are part of getting a job and keeping a job that are not directly related to construction. So I look at our job as making a connection to construction. And then I look at those service providers as they're there to support the whole person and to help identify any barriers. For example, they sometimes provide transportation support if someone can't afford to get to and from the program, or they may provide, other types of support that individual needs as they transition from the program into work.
I'm gonna steal a question before you answer Ian's. Can you talk a little bit about how AGC supports applicants, students, participants, apprentices with disabilities?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I love to take a look at, again, when we look at the whole student, and we look at what their disability or their personal particular challenge is, one of the ways that we can support those students is by looking at what experiences are we able to provide them that would be a good fit for who they are and how they function. So both what are the right opportunities, and then what supports are we able to provide or put in place that would have that work for them. I'll give you an example. In one of our programs, we were asked if we could accommodate a student in a wheelchair. And my response to that was, we absolutely can. And there's a number of work opportunities that they could try and thrive in. While I wouldn't necessarily think that every work environment or every job site would be the best fit, there were at least 60% of the jobs that we were presenting that with some modifications could be a good fit. And so, we'll do our best to make sure that all students have the best possible experience, and that we're helping them find the things that are appropriate for them.
Awesome. And Ian asked about credentials traveling out of state.
Yeah, great question. So our apprenticeship program is a Maine sponsored, state sponsored program. However, the education that we're providing, so the OSHA 10 credential, the first aid and CPR credential, and then also the NCCER core badge that they will receive, all three of those credentials are portable across the country. And in many cases, credit and hours worked in an apprenticeship may also transfer. So work experience may also transfer. It really does depend on where they are going, but at least within the state of Maine, I can tell you that they will transfer from one employer to the next. That's part of the reason that we're part of this registered program. So, if somebody's partway through working on an electrical apprenticeship, any of that technical instruction that they've done, any of the classwork that they've done, and the work experience hours follow the individual versus the employer.
Awesome. And I encourage anyone who has questions.
Yeah, I am happy to answer questions.
Ian,
you have asked fantastic questions. I appreciate that so very much.
But I've got a few more. So if we're looking at students who are still in school, they're 16, 17, maybe they've still got a year or so left of school, and they've completed their pre-apprenticeship, what does it look like? What are their options for when they've completed? Let's say they can't take a full-time job right away, or maybe they can, I don't know.
So, well, they sometimes they can and sometimes they can't. We have a number of students. So in the first year, we had 100 applicants. We actually ended up serving 50 students out of that 100 applicants. And a number of them were still in school. So they went back to school for another year at the end of the program. What that looks like for them is either more engagement in their existing educational pathway, right? If they were already part of a career and technical education program, a lot of times students return to that program with a new passion or a new view of like what they were learning and how that actually translated into their future, right? So instead of just going to class because you're supposed to go to class, now they were going to class learning things because they knew that's where they wanted to go. So for us, even if there's a little bit of lag time, introducing them to those contractors and those work opportunities is really, really valuable. The other thing that can happen is, like I mentioned, the extended learning opportunities. So if a student has the ability for some flexibility through their particular school or education program, they can go to work, whether that's part-time and or full-time, even as a student. If they are registered as an apprentice, not a pre-apprentice, this program is a pre-apprenticeship, but if they take a job and they become an apprentice, it does loosen some of the Department of Labor rules around work hours and duties that they're able to perform. So it allows them to have a better work experience if it is part of a structured, approved educational pathway. And so we work with the employers and the students to make sure that that's the right fit as well. But we've had some students that return to school that are looking forward to, okay, my next summer's coming up and I know I want to go work for XYZ and get some more work experience. And so, there's lots of options for what it can look like after the program.
And do those students who are going back to school after the program, do they still get interviews?
Yep,
okay.
They sure do. So we do the interview process regardless of whether a student is going to immediately go to work or not. I think the interview process is an important part of understanding the transition from school to work, even if they're not going to take a job right away.
Yeah, those interview skills and interview practice is really important.
Yeah.
So what does the interview preparation look like? How much time is spent on interview prep?
Yeah, I think this year it's going to be a little bit more than it was last year. But what we do throughout the program is assist the students with evaluating each of their work experiences. So if they have, let's say 10 work experiences, each day we're going to ask them to reflect on that experience and what they liked or didn't like, or, what they liked about the company or didn't like. Great example. Sometimes we have students who think they want to be equipment operators. I'll share this with you because equipment operation looks cool, right? Who doesn't want to run an excavator? And then the student will get in the excavator and realize, oh, I have to sit in the cab of this thing that's loud and bumpy and like moving all day long. And it's actually kind of stressful. And I actually don't like it at all, right? And they may end up finding that something else that they've tried that they didn't think they would like turns out to be the thing they really love. And so, again, we're evaluating every single day. What was your experience? What did you think about that? And then we use that sort of evaluation to develop their resume. The program becomes part of their resume, right? I mean, if you think about as a 17 or 18-year-old, you don't have a lot of experience. You don't have a lot to put on a resume at that age, but this program, these credentials, these experiences become part of that resume. And then we do talk to them about, really thinking about your future and identifying why you would want a certain job and then how to speak with those employers. Ian's got another great question. Companies in Maine that focus on certain specialties, actually each one of our presenting companies is presenting on one specialty. So the program is broken up into 10 to 12, and I say 10 to 12 because it depends on the geographic location, how far we're able to travel and what we're able to see. But there are 10 to 12 different specialties. And so, when you look at paving, for example, there's going to be one or two companies that are going to specialize in paving, right? You're going to have somebody like Shaw Brothers or Northeast Paving or Pike Industries, that paving is specifically what they do. And we're going to have them talk to the student about that particular career. Or we might look at earthwork and use Sargent or RJ Grondin or some of the other earthwork companies. Same with bridge building, where we're talking to Wyman and Simpson or Reed and Reed or CPM Constructors. So actually, we are very specifically using companies that specialize in each of those different crafts or each of those different things that they might do to present that particular occupation.
I have another question. So maybe you may not have numbers off the top of your head, but about how many individuals, participants who graduate the pre-apprenticeship program, out of all of the ones who are ready to go to work and want to work right away, how many of them get jobs with one of these contractors?
I want to say all of them. It's pretty close to all of them. It's pretty close. I don't know the exact number because we did have a pretty large number of students who were returning to school. And even of those students that were returning to school, a number of them did take senior year work experiences. So the percentage of students that identify a pathway is pretty high. I also think, honestly, it's a success if a student does this program, spends 4 weeks trying everything, and then says, this isn't for me. That is also a success for us. If we've helped a student identify what they don't want to do, that's just as powerful as helping them identify what they do want to do.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I think people don't realize that. They think, well, this failed and now I don't know what I'm going to do now. And now I don't have a plan B and it's all over. And that's not the case, because you're never going to know unless you try, right? You're never going to know if you like it.
It's
so
interesting.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because there are other roles within the construction industry that are not craft-based roles. And so I personally think, as a student, exposure to 10 or 12 different employers within the state, within your geographic area, if you decide that building things and being the person building things isn't for you, but maybe you really liked the financial management couple of hours that you learned about, guess what? Every single one of those construction companies has a finance department, they have an accounting department, they have a payroll department, they have a human resources department, so there's other jobs available within the companies that we're talking to and talking with that don't have anything to do with building things.
Absolutely. That's probably where I'd end up.
Yeah.
One of those departments.
You know what? But we get to try, right?
Yeah.
And my hope is that if someone is excited by construction, I remember my first construction site visit that really, really impacted me is I got to go to a hydro facility and go inside a dam that was operational, right? So they were producing power from this hydro facility. I got to see where the fish go and how the water creates power and see how that all works. And I remember going, wait, most people never get to see this. Like, most people don't even know that, like, you drive by a dam on our river and you don't think anything of it. And it changed the way I looked at all of the things around me. And so when we get to bring students to have those experiences, I think it still enriches their future and their understanding of the things around them, even if they don't choose to work in that environment.
Absolutely. I do have a question. During the 4 weeks, is there any time spent talking to students about what it means to be a member of a union, or what union membership means?
That's a great question. So we, as an organization at AGC, represent contractors. So we are not connected to or representative of specifically union or non-union companies. And so we do invite any contractor that has an apprenticeship available to present to the students. And that means that some of our members would probably talk about union membership and what that looked like. The unions would not be the ones doing that presentation. The employers are the ones who would do that, because the employers are the ones who are our members. But by their relationship with the union, that still would provide that apprenticeship pathway that would be required. And so, if one of our signatory contractors presented to the students, and that was how they became an employee of that organization, was to become a part of the union, that discussion would happen.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And this is my last question. I didn't have any more prepared. I don't recall if any transportation assistance had been made available last year or will be made available this year for the pre-apprenticeship.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do ask students to get themselves to and from the program. So program typically runs from 8 to 2 Monday through Friday. And we do not provide busing to and from the program. However, Again, as part of that enrollment with the service provider, if there was transportation needs identified and they did not have the ability to get themselves to and from there, typically the service provider would do their best to assist them with that, whether that was financial assistance or helping them set up what they need or getting them to the resources to get to and from the program. All of the job site visits, we do provide transportation from wherever the host location is to and from any of those actual on-site experiences.
Great. Did anybody else have questions? Oh, I see one popped up in the Q&A.
Oh, I've been watching the chat, not the Q&A.
Well, this is the first one that came through the Q&A. Is this
All right,
program
perfect.
open to students with disabilities?
Yes, absolutely, yes. And we do voluntary disclosure, voluntary disability disclosure. But, you know, again, we will absolutely consider all students as eligible for the program.
Okay, did anyone else have a question? And to add to your answer, vocational rehabilitation, if the student is a client, has a vocational rehab counselor, that individual should be providing some kind of support, assistance with getting information out there on what accommodations might be needed. The school may have some information on, I don't think you guys have access to the IEP, right?
We do not.
Yeah,
we do not. Yeah. So we're independent of the school. So the program would happen independent of an IEP that was set up with the school. But, you know, of course, we certainly would consider whether or not we were able to provide any accommodations for students who required that.
Do you have any information on what accommodations may have been provided in the past as examples?
Yeah, so we actually didn't have any accommodation requests. I will say that even though we didn't have accommodation requests, we did have approximately 20% of our students who self-identified that they had a disability of some sort and were still successful in the program. And so, you know, while I don't necessarily have a list of accommodations that were provided, we certainly did work with some folks who had self-identified disabilities. And that process for us didn't, we don't ask them to complete that form until they've already been accepted and are registering. You know, of course, I assume, depending on the degree and the type of disability, we might need to have that conversation earlier if the accommodations were more significant. But
and, you know, some students, many parents are going to know what that student needs, based on experience, based on assessments, but sometimes we just don't know until we were in that situation, right? So if maybe we don't anticipate a problem, but something comes up, you know, we can have a conversation, you know, that can be discussed with the VR counselor. It can be discussed with what would you say, the instructor? Who would they go to?
So I would say that would probably be through Thomas on our side, as far as having that exploratory discussion. And so if something popped up that was a challenge, Thomas on our on the AGC side would probably be involved in that discussion. And then if that accommodation required something of the instructor, obviously we would want to have that wraparound conversation that involved the instructor as well.
Great. I hope that answered your question, Lindsay. Did you have any follow-up questions? Did anybody else have any thing they wanted to, any comments, any questions?
You all have had some great questions, and you know, I hope that the idea of the program is interesting and exciting to some of your students. And you know, I definitely recognize, as we're having this conversation as part of you know, the Bureau of Rehab Services program, that you understand we want to be as inclusive as we can. And there are certainly opportunities available to students to experience construction and to determine whether or not there's an opportunity that fits for them. And Ian's final comment, which I think is one of my favorite things too. Ian said that he loves that we teach financial literacy. You're absolutely right, Ian. I mean, the number of students who don't have access to this type of information is pretty broad. And so, you know, even just providing that little bit of basic financial literacy, I think is a win for every student who participates in the program.
Definitely.
Well, I am absolutely open to direct questions too. So I'll close out, Amanda, by just offering up I'm going to pop my actual email directly into the chat, which I think is just, you know what?
Yeah.
You need something, you reach out and we will answer whatever.
You can do that if you'd like, or we can encourage them to contact me. Okay.
I'll do.
So you don't get like bombarded.
It's part of my job, right? And so I know Amanda is going to share that application. The application link does have all of the program locations that have been secured in there. I will share with everybody that that is changing daily. I think there are 3 locations that are in process that are not shown in the application link because we don't list them until they're approved by the state. So if you have a student who's interested in the program, but their particular location doesn't show up in that application, there's an option to select other and for them to type in where they are located. And if something pops up that is close to them, we will reach out to you and let you know. So I do encourage students, even if they don't see something that's close by, to still complete that in that application to show interest, because that helps us navigate where to go next. And we often can find something close enough for them.
And I'm glad you said that as well. So if you're interested in the program, you have a student who's interested, wants to do it, fill out that application, even if they're not certain, because there's going to be opportunity to ask questions. There's going to be opportunity to learn more. And no one's going to force you to do it just because you filled out the application, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a process there. Just because someone's completed an application, to us, that expresses interest. Students always have the ability to change their mind. So I think if somebody has an interest, have them complete that application. It's not a long application process.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, thank you so much. That was awesome. That was fantastic. I'm very excited. And so if you can just briefly, you said that you needed to update, or it's already been updated, the application with all the list of locations.
So the application has the current list of state approved pre-apprenticeships already in there. We are adding locations daily. So most of the programs start sometime between May and July. And so as we move through the next month or so, there will be 3 additional locations added to that.
Okay, nice. Stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah,
well, thank you,
but
everyone.
The application link will be the same. So the link that I have shared will stay the same. It's just more things will pop up in the location list as we add them.
Great. Very good.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Bye. Take care, everybody.